100%. I feel too young. Because also even without cancer at 42 years old, I still feel 25. So I think most of us always feel younger than we are. But yeah, I feel like it's too young. I also feel like I've been robbed a little bit of, the normal life that all of my friends have with their children. I'm Lauren. I live in Pennsylvania. I was diagnosed with signet ring cell adenocarcinoma, colon cancer, in 2025 this year. If my friends and family had to describe me, they would say I'm outgoing, outspoken, full of energy, and resilient as of late. My reaction to colon cancer was, how? How is that even possible? What did I do in my life that would have led to that? Is it, I don't know. I didn't know anything about colon cancer. I think as a woman, you hear a ton about breast cancer and being an advocate for yourself for that cancer, get your mammograms, those kinds of things. But colon cancer was not on my radar. And I just thought, is it what I ate in my life? Like, what could have possibly led up to that? And that was really frustrating for me, to not understand how I could have ended up with this. And then, I kind of leaned on the whole, well, it was probably related to my dad's cancer. Maybe I have that gene mutation that led to that. And then finding out that most likely is not hereditary, kind of was like just eye-opening. Like, how could this have even happened? So that was tough. And then emotionally navigating it and having to, even tell my mom and dad that it was stage 4C. I remember leading up to that conversation, they had been with us all along at the hospital, and then they had traveled back to New Jersey for the day. And that's the day we found out. And so I was like, do we tell them on the phone? Do we wait till they come back? But they're going to know if we don't tell, like, they're going to just know when they see me that I'm not okay. And so I couldn't hold it in. We ended up calling them on the phone and telling them, and my parents handled it like champs, because I think they wanted to be strong for me. And then telling everyone else, like I'm very close with my family, even my cousins, they're like my siblings to me. So telling my siblings and my cousins were the hardest conversations that I had to have. And I called them one at a time because I felt like they deserved that, to hear it from me personally. And those were tough convos because people have a hard time. They don't know how to react. And it's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable discussion to have with, what possibly could happen at the end of this journey. So it was tough. But I think the most challenging to navigate was with my kids. So I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old son. And my 5-year-old daughter is autistic. So that adds a layer of complexity into any conversations that we have. And so with my son and my daughter, we gradually released the information, thinking through how we were going to do that. The first step that we made a conscious decision about was to be open about the colostomy bag, because that's the obvious physical thing that we brought back into the home when I got released from the hospital. I tried to hide it for about a week, and then I was like, this is just not realistic. Like, clearly a 3 and a 5-year-old are going to burst into the room at some point and see it. So let's just be open about it. So one morning we showed them my incision from the surgery, and then the colostomy bag, and we just had a really easy conversation with them. And kids are resilient, so they were just more interested in it than anything. We just basically said that mommy was having trouble going potty, and so the doctor found a new way for mommy to go potty, which is using this bag on the side of me. And so they were actually really interested in it. And now it's just part of the normal life now for them. And they don't think much of it, other than sometimes they announce it when we're at a restaurant. Like, they'll be like, mommy, did you poop in your bag? Oh gosh, guys, let's not talk about that right now. But yeah, so, kids say anything, but for the most part, they've been great about that. Then the next part was mommy's going to start chemo. I started May 1st.
Do you remember what we said mommy has?
A port.
I have a port, right? And what's the port for?
It's for putting medicine.
That's right.
Even without cancer at 42 years old, I still feel 25. So I think most of us always feel younger than we are. But yeah, I feel like it's too young. Um, I also feel like I've been robbed a little bit of, the normal life that all of my friends have with their children. And I already have found that life can be challenging more than maybe some others just because of the autism diagnosis that my daughter has. And that came this year too. So that came in January. And now here I am with this totally different diagnosis that's a little more serious, but still navigating all of that at the same time. I'm trying to be an advocate for her and her education and getting her treatment that she needs and therapy. And then here I am navigating my own challenges. So I feel like, yes, I'm too young. And sometimes I'm at the ball field at baseball, or, we're at the playground, and I look around, and I have to remind myself that, similar to me, you know, you don't know what's going on in other people's lives, because I find myself falling into the trap of, this isn't fair. Why me? Look at all these moms around me that have it great. And then I have to remind myself that's not the case. Everybody has their own story, and you don't necessarily know what's going on in someone's life by looking at them. Just like me at the playground, nobody would know I have a colostomy bag on the side of me, right? Or that I have stage 4 cancer. So on the surface, I look fine right now. And so I just remind myself that that's an unfair perspective. And I have to remember that everyone has their own story. Without bringing religion into it, I just trust that this was meant to be. This was my plan. And I was blessed to have the people in my life and the resources in my life to help me navigate this. And that's what I'm trying to view, as it's so tough. But that's what I'm trying to remind myself of every day when I think, why me, is that there's got to be a reason why me. So May 1st, I started chemotherapy, and I go for 6 rounds of chemotherapy, and I go every other week. So it's basically across a 3-month period. It's interesting because when I sit in the chemo chair, I don't have any side effects, but I bring home a pump that I wear for 46 hours, which also distributes chemo into my body.
I will wear my 5FU pump that I have here through tomorrow. But I wanted to post because I feel like everything I post is pretty much positive and smiles, and I have makeup on. And this is the reality, though, of what it's like.
The nurse comes at the end of those 46 hours to disconnect me. During the chemo, the actual infusion at the hospital, I don't, have any side effects necessarily, other than I start to get neuropathy at that time. So, and then once I'm home, it kind of hits me hard. So, my side effects have been oral neuropathy, where anything cold feels like razor blades in my throat. That was a really tough one at first to get used to, because I crave ice water, and I can't have that, or anything cold for that matter. I have peripheral neuropathy, so my fingers and my toes and my feet, get kind of like pins and needles, and it can be a little bit painful, especially when I walk around initially with my feet. I can feel it every step that I take. And I think that some of the side effects hit me a little harder because I'm a redhead. I know it sounds crazy, but if you ask any doctor, they'll tell you that for some reason, I guess the redhead gene makes you really sensitive and also resistant to pain meds. So I'm lucky in that way, I guess. But I have had the neuropathy, which has actually been pretty intense. Each session, each infusion I get, it gets a little bit worse. The third infusion was the worst. That hit me really hard. I had neuropathy up through my thighs. I walked out of chemo feeling like my pants were cutting my legs. It was the weirdest feeling. But then round 4, that didn't happen. And it was kind of back to the basic neuropathy that I was getting in my feet and my ankles, just kind of like the pins and needles feeling. I would say the nausea is the worst part. The neuropathy I can deal with. I can just learn to manage it. That's not that challenging. Some people can't stand it. I have found, I can manage that. I can wear gloves. I know what to expect. Not that bad. The nausea is the worst for me. I get really tired and really nauseous. And that first week after treatment, but for 4 to 6 days, I look really terrible and I'm super nauseous. And they give me give me nausea meds for that. And so that does help a little bit, but I would say the third and fourth rounds were really hard for me. My oncologist told me that, the only way to really be rid of this cancer, because it's so far along, is surgery. So my hope is that we'll go through this chemo, it'll shrink it enough and kill it off enough that they can go in and do either surgery to remove the remaining tumors or cancer that's, spread throughout my peritoneum, and my abdominal cavity, or they'll be able to do high pec surgery. And I don't know a ton about it, but I know it's pretty invasive. And they can, do the liquid hot chemo inside my abdominal cavity to clear out the rest of the cancer. So we'll see how that goes, but that's the hope. The age old ginger ale and, crackers is what works for me. But I would say mentally, more than anything, is the challenge for me with my side effects. Um, so, I know side effects may be different for other folks. I know I'm new into treatment, so I know that my side effects are lasting about a week right now. Maybe as the further along I get into chemo, they'll last longer. But I would say initially right now, mentally it's hard. Those first 4 to 6 days I feel really challenged by it, because I'm just used to being able to move around and go do things, and I'm just kind of laid out on the recliner or in bed and resting a lot. So I would say lean on the people that are around you. The best thing you can do is not be afraid to ask for help. I'm a really independent person, and so that was a challenge for me in the beginning. But lean on others when they offer their help. Take it, because they'll bring you meals, even if they need, run and pick up your meds for you or whatever it might be. Lean on people, I would say, is number one. And then mentally, the challenging part of just feeling sick and feeling like, especially at this late stage, it's easy to trick your brain. Like your brain gets into that, oh, I'm stage 4 and I feel so sick. But I think reminding yourself that it's the chemo that's making you sick and it's not the cancer yet. Right. So like, hopefully it won't ever make me sick, but the chemo is what's making me sick. And this is all for the better. Adjusting to life with the ostomy, that's actually been the hardest part for me. You would think that a stage 4C cancer diagnosis would get me, but I think because it's the most physically obvious thing, that's been hard. So, in my own house doesn't bother me too much because, I mean, it's annoying, right? But I can deal with it. I think the hardest part is uh, physically, like, I feel like you can see the back. Most people say you can't see it, when I wear my clothes and everything, but like I see it, even though I have clothes on. Like I can see that it's a little bit further out on my belly than the other side of my belly, and so I always feel like I notice it more. If I turn to the side, I feel like, oh, my stomach's sticking out more than it normally does. It's trivial, I guess, in the big picture, but it's just the one physical thing I see every single day when I look in the mirror, and that kind of stinks. I don't love that. Um, and then just having to be prepared at any time for, like, I always have to have supplies with me wherever I go. I have an extra large purse now, so I can fit everything into a purse. I think it's having the extra supplies because your body goes back pretty much to how it normally worked before all of everything that happened. So I didn't have a gallbladder before, and I still don't have a gallbladder now. And so my body isn't that regular anyway when it kind of is still that way, even with this ostomy. And so, my doctor told me that some people know when they're going to go to the bathroom and it's like once a day and they know when that is, and it's easy. For me, it's not easy because my body acts just like it did prior to all of this, which was kind of irregular. And so I could be at the zoo with my kids and then I'm like, oh gosh, got to go change my bag. It's just annoying. Um, but so I don't have any tips or tricks for managing that. I'm just surviving. I'm hoping for a reversal at some point. They said give it 6 to 12 months. I don't know with my type of diagnosis if it will end up being forever, but hopefully I get to reverse it at some point. It's brought my husband and I closer. Um, he is a police officer. He doesn't show a lot of emotion. He's kind of very level. I'm the one that's very emotional and dramatic, clearly, as I'm getting upset talking about it. Um, but I think that it's made me really appreciate what I have in my relationships. And so, if anything, it's brought me closer to my husband. My parents have been amazing through this whole thing. They stay at my house after chemo for almost a whole week to help me take care of the kids, and so my husband can continue working. So they've been amazing. Um, and the people that I'm closest with, they've just been my rocks. My cousins, my siblings, my friends that I'm closest with have just been in my corner, and that feels amazing. So. I know some people say, oh, you'd be surprised that, some people can't handle it. And then your friends some of them will pull away. I haven't experienced that. So I feel very blessed and lucky for that. My friends have all been amazing. And in fact, um, my boss said, even my coworkers and my boss, absolutely amazing. My boss set up a meal train for me, and that has been incredibly helpful. Um, but yeah, I would say overall, just an immense amount of love and support surrounding me, and I couldn't ask for anything more. The push and pull in my brain of needing to be super positive and know that I'm going to get through this and come out on the other side alive, um, versus this cloud that keeps like pulling me into this is stage 4C. If this treatment doesn't work, I'm done. I'm toast. And so it sounds really dramatic, but it's this just constant push and pull where I have to make sure that my brain stays on this side of being positive and knowing that I am going to come out of this and be okay. And I'm super resilient. I'm strong. I'm young. I can fight this and come out on the other side. But I do think emotionally it's a challenge because it's such a late stage. I do have to still, get my will together because that wasn't done. I have to fill out my advanced directive paperwork. And to be honest, I still haven't done it. I probably should do that. I think the thoughts that are reality, that could be reality, where would I want to be buried? What are my wishes? What do I want to leave for my kids? You know, I think that I'm in a somewhat different position because I lost my dad so young. Well, 29, young. But when I lost my dad, it was really fast. And so he didn't have a lot of time to think about what would happen, right? Or what he was leaving behind. Like, I just think he didn't have a lot of time to prep for that. And I think that I know this is crazy, but looking back, I think my dad's death was a blessing for me now because I went through that. And as a daughter, I know what that felt like to lose my dad. And I know now what I can do for my children in the event that that happens. And so maybe I think about it more because of that. But I ran out of pictures already of my dad and me. So I am obsessed with taking pictures of my children with me now. Like, I want to make sure they don't run out. I am, I'm going to record some videos for them so they can have a video of me talking to them on their wedding day or on their graduation or, birthdays. And so it's a lot to think about. And that makes me a little more emotional, I think. And it's a challenge, but in the long run, I think it's really, it'll be helpful for my children and my family members that if something were to happen, that they would feel loved, even if I'm not here. All the little things I didn't appreciate, I certainly appreciate now. Um, and I've learned to fill my time with things that matter to me and matter to my mental health. And so I've been reading a ton. Like, I read books now, which I stopped doing because I was so busy. I make myself read. I go outside and like enjoy. I can't believe I'm saying this. I sound like my mother, watching the birds and the flowers out in my yard. Like, those little things matter, and just stopping to enjoy life, right? And so one of the things that I always wanted to do, because now I have a bucket list, which I never really had before. Now I have this bucket list. One of the things I always wanted to do was write a book. And so I wrote my first children's book. Coincidentally, I did write it right before my diagnosis. But now I've been able to pour my time, because I'm on FMLA, pour my time into building my website. And I would have never done that if this didn't happen. Trust yourself and take care of yourself. Um, I was a VP of operations, am still. I'm on FMLA right now, but I run basically operations for a medical company, and I drove myself into the ground working and didn't take care of myself and put my kids first, which you should do, but you also have to take care of yourself. And I believe truly, if I had, although I didn't have symptoms of cancer and I wouldn't have known, there were still other ways I could have taken care of myself outside of this. And I think that's the most important thing you can do for yourself, is take care of your body, be healthy, exercise, do all the things that you can do best to prevent things like this. And maybe you can't prevent it, but you'll be in a healthier spot by taking care of yourself if it were to happen, right? And so take care of yourself, take care of your mind and your body as best you can.